a wonderful place existed.
The Athenians called it
The Acropolis.
free expression, ethics, art, philosophy. The Acropolis heralded the democracy. But if I told you the Acropolis has returned, Acropolis News. News from the Acropolis.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the Trevor Report. Monday is political day and Wednesday is culture day. But today on political day, we got to recap all the stuff that happened with regards to politics last week. So let's get into it right about now. So the Trump raid, a lot of people are talking about it. A lot of people are talking about it for this entire month now. And Viva and Barnes, their lawyers, did a stream on Rumble, and they talked about it and they went into it in depth and a few other things of some high-profile legal cases, some involving the FBI, especially with that Whitmer trial. It connects all together very well. I really do hate this institution the more and more I learn about it, and the same goes for virtually every federal branch of the United States government. We are truly no longer a republic. We are in fact an empire. Anyway, so there's a stop. Jeez, I hate it when they, can we collect their data or whatever. Anyway, if you're watching this, the thing wanted me to enable cookies, and then I said no. It's like, are you sure you don't want to enable cookies? It's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure. But anyway, there's a judge that signaled that she'll grant the Trump's request for a special master to oversee the FBI. It's like, yeah, the FBI is obviously very biased in this. They've seemed to have a bias throughout his entire presidency and even post his presidency. So, perhaps, maybe there should be a third entity to oversee this. It's like, wow, bravo, the bare minimum is going to happen. Everyone can clap. The entire online right can be completely satiated now. Apparently, it's whatever. And I guess on that note or whatever, Andrew Tate, who was banned, he's back now, and he's back on Rumble. Or whatever, it's like his final message or whatever. There's no way this is his final message. It's just stupid. But, or maybe it's the final message for about like with this situation or whatever. It's like an hour and 15 minutes long, or I guess hour and 13 minutes and 21 seconds or whatever. I recommend people go over it and watch it. They can do it. Keep this in mind though. Andrew Tate has mastered capitalism in a way that I find quite amusing, and I've already explained it before. All previous Trevor Reports linked down below in the description, of course, with your choice of player. Unless it's Silicon Valley, in which case you could just be screwed. If you're relying on Silicon Valley authority platforms at this point in any means whatsoever, you could just go ahead and be screwed and not have your choice of player, as it were. But anyway. So he did his final message, if you could say that, his final message, as it were, and I don't know. I guess I have no evidence to the contrary. Take his word for it, I guess. But he does seem to be a professional flexer, as it were. So I don't know. I think I've said this to my friend, but he's not a like he's not like a bishop or a knight. But he's definitely not a pawn either. He just seems like one of those people, one of those types of people that certain societies produce, that will always be famous in one way or another. I think he's definitely had some media training and a few other things, but I haven't met him, so I'm not gonna say I respect him, and he hasn't done anything for me to dislike him that I can corroborate. So I'm not gonna say that I dislike him. I'm gonna quote Star Wars here and say, we will watch your career with great interest. I'm not really that interested. I'm not really that invested or whatever. I'm just glad a bunch of people ended up coming to Rumble after this, because you can't just ban people from equal access to the public square. Don't do that. That's ridiculous. Don't do that. That's actually a tremendously evil thing to do. Not that free speech arguments work towards people who only view things in terms of power. But time to be scared, guys. We have The Independent. We're gonna read into The Independent's article. They're gonna want me to pay for this. I'm not gonna pay for this, but and you'll see why in a moment. But let's get into it. Proud Boys founder Gavin McInnes apparently interrupted by law enforcement on live show. Oh my gosh. NYPD and New York City FBI confirmed they have made no arrest of the far-right extremist who has a history of staging pranks. Oh my god, he's far right, guys. He's far right. He's these people don't know what right wing is. They think Nazis are right wing, but the problem is Nazi or National Socialism is a product of Hegelian dialectic materialism, and conservatism being pro monarchy. Okay, this is a non-enlightenment philosophy. So if he is a far right extremist, then that means he is a non-enlightenment thinker. So he's a better person than you are. This is stupid. If he is the complete opposite end of a genocidal maniac, he's so terrible. Be afraid of someone who isn't a genocidal maniac. Shut up, Independent. But anyway, Proud Boys founder and alt-right agitator Gavin McInnes was interrupted and disappeared during a live stream last night, with allies reporting that he had been arrested, possibly by the FBI. Mr. McInnes, a notoriously misogynistic, racist, and homophobic activist who pioneered a now familiar style of right-wing organization, blended with internet troll style intellectual posturing, was hosting his, and then it goes on further, but this is in the Independent's news section. Okay, this is not a news section, this is an opinion article. Mr. Andrew Naughty, that's very naughty of you, Andrew. And Andrew Naughty is a U.S. political reporter at the U.S. politics reporter at the Independent, focusing in particular on right-wing and far-right politics, and is the editor of the Daily Inside Washington newsletter. He previously served as internal editor of the Conversation UK, covering global politics, diplomacy, developments here. So he's an aristocrat. He's one of your educated betters whose education amounts to absolutely nothing. But if we look at this, if we just look at all the terrible things that all the right wingers say, and all the terrible things right wing do, the evil, racist, sexist, homophobic, misogynistic, sexist, alt right, Nazi, bigot, fascist rhetoric from the right. These people have no idea what right wing means, but whatever, fine, whatever. Let's take a look at what Kathy Hutchell said. Kathy Hutchell's call for 5.4 million Republicans to leave New York is dangerous and disgusting. Really, Tim Hoffer? Go back to Africa is a disgusting thing to say. Wow. Well, if you see what's currently on screen right now, I know that happened last week. I'm gonna talk about that on Wednesday as it were, for my apparently weekly dissertation I have to give on black nationalism apparently. But anyway, Governor Kathy Hochul, who hasn't proven shy about issuing orders, one for the state's Republicans this week, all 5.4 million of them, quote, "Just jump on a bus and head down to Florida where you belong, okay? You are not New Yorkers." Now, if I'm sure there are people that Kathy Hochul would call the alt-right. I'm sure there are people who she would call far-right as well, for statements about going back to Africa. I'm sure she would vehemently dismiss those claims as bigoted and disgusting and right-wing and evil and blah blah blah, even though she has no idea what right-wing is. If she has a problem with this sort of dialectic materialism, that statements like "go back to where you belong," where statements like that come from in the realm of politics, then she would probably be right-wing. But the thing is, she's one of your educated betters, who, of course, has no education. She doesn't know what she's talking about. She just knows that if she says this, people are gonna talk about her. Okay, the difference between something that Andrew Tate, I don't think Andrew Tate has. Okay, so here's the point I'm trying to make. Okay, you take the 5.4 million Republicans. That's according to the New York Post, right? One of the oldest institutions in newspaper institutions in the United States. Fine, whatever. I'll look into it later. Okay. Take the registered independents, say they lean Republican, whatever, that's 600,000. Kathy Hochul just said that 6 million people told 6 million people you don't belong here. Draw whatever parallels you want to do with that. I hate dialectic materialism so much. It's just, can we move past it, please? It's so barbaric. The only thing it has a guarantee to lead to is just genocide. I'm so done. And as part of my efforts to bring about an end to Hegelian dialectic materialism in my home country, I've decided to start producing art, like stories and things like that. Okay, as part of A&N's thing. Okay, Acropolis News Network. It's my business, right? Right now, I have a news content with some extra stuff on the side. Okay, my goal is to turn Acropolis News Network into a fully fledged multimedia empire. I want to get into music. I wanted to start making anime. I'm not kidding. Okay, people in the United States essentially have to look to foreigners in order to gain access to the sort of like spiritual pleasure of engaging with a story. Okay, that shouldn't happen. And on top of that, even the stories that are like mildly decent are just remakes and sequels. Okay, and of those remakes and sequels, and some of the and the original stuff is just outright black nationalist propaganda. It's absolutely ridiculous. So you have all of those things coming about, and then on top of everything else, you have the fact that, like, I don't know, every civilization produces this, okay? Every civilization produces stories that they could pass along to children in order to instill moral lessons. This is something that has occurred in every civilization throughout all of time. It is not something that I, as a member of a civilization, should have to look towards foreigners in order to be able to experience. So at this point, I'm like, well, if I want something done right, I guess I got to do it myself. But the thing is, I need you guys to help me too. Okay, I need people to start paying for A&N subscriptions. Okay, I'm still going to do the news and politics content. I'm still going to do the cultural commentary. Okay, but I'm not doing it on Friday anymore. I'm going to branch out. Okay, completely branch out into all of these other things. But the thing is, I need capital. And I'm not going to ask something without providing things in return. So not only on top of making all of those things I said that I was going to do, creating all of the infrastructure and the networking necessary to bring about this multimedia empire in order to give my generation the thing that was stolen from them, that they have to look towards foreigners in order to be able to just to experience, okay? I'm gonna do it. And if you help me out, if you become an affiliate marketer, guess what? Not only can you earn a commission on each of the sale, okay? So you could pocket some extra money, and we can finally just take American culture and have it for Americans. Okay, and enough with this secular Catholicism nonsense. But anyway, on a darker note, as it were, the Trump affidavit has been released, and it's like 60% redacted, 70% redacted. It's absolutely ridiculous. They didn't release the affidavit. They released partial neutral information is what they did, and they just blocked everything else. It's just awful. They didn't release anything. Okay, though instead of dwelling on the fact that they didn't release anything, because kind of short on time here, kind of want to keep this around the 25 minute mark. Let's continue a little bit. There's an entire list of FBI controversies, though Mark Zuckerberg, as it were, it recently went on the Joe Rogan podcast. He was very plastic, and even though it was very revealing, I hope he's never invited onto. I hope he's never invited onto the Joe Rogan podcast again. Not that I really watch it. I watch too many podcasts, as it were. The Joe Rogan podcast on top of that would be like way too many, because I also like to listen to music and like do things with my hands or whatever. But it's just, he was very plastic, and it was very boring, and getting through it was honestly a chore. But he made some revealing statements like the FBI asked him to suppress the Hunter Biden laptop. So so you can sort of add this to the entire list of controversies according to Wikipedia. The leftist encyclopedia. But anyway. Though, of course, my definition of leftist includes National Socialist, so there are going to be people who disagree with me. But the thing is, those people are wrong, and I'm right, because I'm more red than they are. Anyway, 10 truly terrible things the CIA did in our names because freedom. This is according to Rolling Stone, a leftist publication. And you can just read it. You can just read it. Anyway, so 1. From the beginning, CIA lawyers dreamed up a novel defense for torturing people. The CIA ran a dungeon called Cobalt. The conditions at Cobalt were medieval and deadly. Many of the CIA interrogations were known sadists. I've never met a sadist in my life. Whatever, fine. CIA interrogators threatened to rape or kill detainees, mothers, and to harm their children. The CIA intended to permanently disappear a detainee named Abu Zubaydah. I'm not going to bother pronouncing that, but you get the point. The guy whose name I can't pronounce was nearly drowned on the waterboard, revived only with the Heimlich maneuver. The CIA sexually harassed and assaulted detainees with brutal rectal exams. Moving forward, detainees including alleged 9/11 mastermind, something Muhammad, were subject to and threatened with medically unnecessary rectal rehydration. I'm not trying to laugh. CIA torture produced a bounty of fabrications rather than useful intelligence. NSA from CNN Politics, from CNN, a leftist publication. Some used spying power to snoop on lovers. The NSA's internal watchdog detailed a dozen instances in the past decade in which its employees intentionally misused the agency's surveillance power, in some cases, to snoop on their love interests. You could read this leftist publication further on what people on the left in my country were talking about for a long time. The CIA, NSA, FBI, these institutions being terrible has been a thing that people knew right and left all across the board, okay? All legitimate actors hated these institutions, okay? Okay? All right. Edward Snowden urges professionals to encrypt client communications. And the TLDR of this article, because I'm almost at the 20-minute mark, so, you know, and I got that intro video and outro video, so, you know. Edward Snowden urged professionals to encrypt client communications. What does this article entail? What does this article entail, you might ask? Well, what this article entails, NSA agents were caught masturbating to the to pictures, to private nude pictures on other people's devices. It's gross. It's gross. The CIA is just an institution of pervs, apparently, and we just have it. We just have this institution. This institution just exists because, of course, it does. Anyway, I'm gonna move on. Congress defines UFOs to exclude man-made objects. So then, an unidentified flying object can only include the definition of UFO now only includes flying objects that are unidentified but aren't made by humans. In other words, the definition of UFO can only refer to alien spacecraft. Oh my god. Oh my god. So aliens are real. And of course, last year people were making a fuss about aliens being real. All previous reports linked down below in the description. But I have aliens to look forward to in my future. I have foreigners from the distant stars with access to unfathomable technology that create an existential crisis for the entire human race. Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. Independence Day, guys. The alien space movie, not the national holiday. No, fantastic. Fantastic. Anyway, so Biden cancels student debt for aristocrats. I made this point in the 11th grade. Sorry, So basically, I've written about this on an article over on theacropolisnews.com. But essentially, I outlined my first experiences with critical race theory, and one of those instances was my racist Spanish teacher, who I've called. I think I called him Mr. Cortez in that article. That's not his actual name, by the way. But anyway, we would constantly go into like back and forth spats because he was an evil racist and I was a normal person. And essentially, the TLDR of one of these conversations was he was a Democrat, so he's in favor of canceling student debt, and I wasn't in favor of canceling student debt because I'm not evil. And my reasoning for that was because I don't like any scenario where coal miners and factory workers and truckers, etc., people who do the taxes of people who do manual labor to pay for relieving the debt of aristocrats who have recently entered the aristocracy. And so I'm just kind of at this, and I brought all that up, and then sure enough, an aristocrat canceled the financial obligations of his fellow aristocrats, and the people started to get a little bit upset over that on those grounds, which, if 11th grade me can make this observation, then certainly it's a bad idea. But then again, I suppose a little bit of a history comparison here before I end this. In France, before it is what it is now, and before the French Revolution, essentially. This is kind of what kicked off the French Revolution, I suppose, or like it's one of the events. The system back then, how it worked was the vast majority of people were represented by the fewest people, and then they had like some sort of like whatever the French equivalent of the House of Lords is, and like some other thing. So basically, a bunch of aristocrats got together and said, "We are in a financial crisis. Let's tax poor people." This is the equivalent as far as I'm concerned. It's just a stupid thing that you do for stupid reasons because you're so up your own ass that your face is turned to diamonds and therefore brain turned to mush. But anyway, in the meantime, my name is Trevor Brown. You've just watched the TrevorReport. Do click the link tree down below in the description that I was forced to make because Linktree banned my previous link tree for opposing black nationalism. So I made my new one, and because I don't like being subject to my corporate overlords, I put that on my website instead of just making a brand new link tree. So anyway, click that, and it's down below in the description. All of you brilliant viewers out there, my name is Trevor Brown. I am the editor-in-chief of Acropolis News Network because I can give myself whatever name and title I want because I own it. You could go to theacropolisnews.com, or you could go to This Just Trevor on whatever Liberty platform is your choice. You know, except for the ones I'm not on because I haven't seen them pretty much.
Acropolis News. News from the Acropolis.